Thank you all for coming here tonight. We really need your assistance. It's true, we're here to talk about House Bill 5312. House Bill 5312 is called an act establishing a task force to study the effects of collective bargaining for certain state employees. And what a spin job that name is. First, this is not a task force study. And second, these are not state employees. This bill is really a backroom deal for the Service Employees International Union to unionize the predominantly female business owners who run their daycare centers. And this bill is also an attempt to stop a lawsuit concerning the constitutional authority of Governor Malloy to force daycare workers into unions through an executive order. So I'm asking all of you to listen and to give those opposed to this bill an opportunity for their voices to be heard. I've been approached by residents of Southington and nearby towns asking for my help in giving these people a chance to tell their story. They told me that they had gone to their local state representative, Zeke Zalaski, and he refused to listen to them. Indeed, they felt and they still feel bullied. I've heard their side of the story. I found them to be a group of very caring, professional, highly trained, and motivated individuals. And I'm sure you'll feel the same when you listen to what they have to say. Please join me in giving them this chance to express their opinions.
All right.
Good evening. Give me a minute.
Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. We want to thank you for coming out here this evening to show your support in stopping the forced unionization of daycare providers and personal care attendants. My name is Maria Nelson, and I've been a licensed child care provider in Southington for 13 years. I am the director of the Connectcut Childcare Providers Coalition, as well as the vice president of the Southington Daycare Providers Association. I have worked closely with the superintendent of our schools to try and improve kindergarten readiness throughout our town. Child care is my profession. It is my chosen career. And I am here today to ask you to help us get HB 5312 to die in session. Please call the Democratic senators of our state and ask them to vote no. Last spring, the legislature refused to pass a bill allowing collective bargaining and the forced unionization of child care providers and personal care attendants. Our legislators knew these sensitive issues were not supported by their constituents, so they allowed them to die in session. In the fall, Governor Malloy issued Executive Orders number 9 and 10, paving the way for the forced unionization of daycare providers and personal care attendants. This was an overreach in government by Governor Malloy. The governor's office is not the law-making body of our government. The legislature is. We believe Governor Malloy's executive orders violate our constitutional rights and federal and state labor laws. Governor Malloy claims that he executed these laws, these executive orders, to help us. However, at no time were we contacted or told of his plans. Instead, Governor Malloy chose to meet with SEIU instead of the citizens of his state. Because of these actions, the child care providers and the personal care attendants have 2 lawsuits before the Connecticut judicial system. These suits are to determine if Governor Malloy's executive orders are unconstitutional and if they violate federal and state labor laws. We believe we are self-employed individuals and should not be forced to unionize. We further believe if the governor truly wanted to help us, he would have reached out to us first and not SEIU. I think the lack of communication and publicity on these issues confirms this ploy to change the labor laws. Once these laws have been changed, anyone who takes any kind of state subsidy or funds, regardless of who they are for, will be subject to unionization. This could include landlords who rent to low-income families, doctors, dentists, pharmacies, and grocery stores. We need to allow our judicial system to do their job and make the determination of whether Governor Malloy's executive orders were unconstitutional and violate state and federal labor laws before we allow legislation like HB 5312 to become effective. The political maneuvers of SEIU union continues to push our governor and legislature to support them. Union officials and employees have a comfortable presence in our state buildings. This must be stopped. Union officials and employees have a comfortable presence in our state buildings and can go into offices and meetings that regular citizens like us cannot go into. In other words, they are treated like a separate branch of government and they have preferential treatment. This must stop. We must remind our politicians that union representatives are not part of the state government. There are still only 3 branches of government in Connecticut. These buildings belong to all citizens of Connecticut, not union representatives. In our scenario, the only people that benefit from unionization is SEIU because they gain our dues and fees. Childcare providers are self-employed people and can collective bargain for themselves. SEIU keeps saying that they will give us a voice, but they cannot tell us what the content of their voice will be. They refer to changes they have made in our state, but fail to mention that these programs are already present and being utilized in Connecticut. It makes no sense to ask for an increase in a subsidy established for low-income families and expect the child care providers to pay for them. The only one that benefits from the increase will be the parents. The provider will in fact be making less money. In the end, the parent will pay less and the provider will make less. It is important to remind our politicians that they represent all of their constituents and not only the constituents who might share the same ideas and beliefs or perhaps pay the largest amounts of money to their campaigns.